So the second finding that I'm going to demonstrate is the COVID status access with an authentication bypass, right? So again, I'm Abraham Ranguren from Sovereign Security, and in here you can see that I have the latest LeaveHomeSafe iOS application. Now this attack works on both iOS and Android, but I'm just going to show it on iOS now, but it works on both, right? So you can see that I'm running the latest LeaveHomeSafe 3.3.0 at the time of recording, which is July 29th. You can also see here that is last updated as of today. It's pretty much the time I am recording. And yeah, so the problem here is that the Android and iOS applications have a feature to enable authentication to access COVID vaccination status. This requires entering the PIN or fingerprint for the device. So this feature can be trivially bypassed due to a logic flaw. So a malicious attacker with access to an unlocked phone could gain access to the user COVID vaccination and COVID test status by simply tapping through screens. So defeating the intended security feature with minimal effort and skill. In short, this security control provides absolutely no security at the time of writing, and this issue was verified as follows on both the Android and iOS apps. So first, you need to go to the settings, right? So I'm just going here to the application settings, and you can enable authentication for accessing electronic vaccination and testing record. So when I do this, now I can go to the home screen, and then this is the screen for electronic vaccination and testing record. So if I tap on this, now you can see that I'm required to use the Touch ID. Okay, now to give them the benefit of the doubt, let's just close the, well, in this case, I've just used the Touch ID, so this is why it got unlocked. But you can see here that this is enabled, right? So if I navigate to home and electronic vaccination and testing record, so if I tap on this, Touch ID is required, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the application. So I'm just going to close it like this. And now I'm going to open it again, right? So let's say I'm an attacker, right, with access to an unlocked phone, and I navigate here, and I go to the electronic vaccination and testing record, and the security feature appears to be working, right? So it appears that I'm being prevented from accessing this, but what the attacker can do is just to navigate to settings. So I'm just going to cancel this, go to settings, and now I go to app settings here. And in here, you just remove this authentication for accessing electronic vaccination and testing record. So it's just a tap through screen. So now if I go back to home and I try to access the electronic vaccination and testing record, you can see I'm no longer prompted. Let me do that again. I am no longer prompted from the second factor authentication. So this is a second factor authentication bypass. It is a fingerprint bypass in Android or Face ID or Touch ID bypass in iOS, simply because the user can just go here to the application settings and disable or enable this, right? So if it is enabled, you can just disable it, and then like that, you just bypass it, right? So it is an implementation logic flaw in the application, whereby you can just access this bypassing the second factor authentication. Right, so as you can see, this is in stark contrast. Like, this is really a rookie security vulnerability, right? This means that this was never properly tested for security by any competent security firm, which is in stark contrast of the official statement by the Hong Kong government, who said here that the mobile app strictly follows the policies, requirements, and standards of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region Government on information security and privacy protection, And then they also said that the application has passed privacy impact assessments, security risk assessments, and audits conducted by independent professional third parties. So as you can see by the progress on this so far, this is pretty much either not true, or the companies that looked at the security of these were not really competent, because we already have a critical man in the middle without warnings, as well as a logic flaw in the second factor authentication, right? Which is a trivial bypass that any competent security mobile security tester would have found.